Okay, this is fire. And by fire, I mean when I press the button, look at it move. And that's because, again, my playback speed needs to be real time. But if I move this around, oh, yeah, I know. It needs some more tweaking. But you can see this really quick exercise I made last night. It's sort of this idea of a flame that's dancing around. And this is that same technique where we used a sine deformer, so nonlinear sine, and I changed the amplitude while it's moving to get it to kind of do a little bit of a flicker. Now, if I change the scale of this, I can easily get this to even be more dancey if I want that to happen that way. But you might notice, oh, that's a kind of cool looking flame. It's stylized. And I know it doesn't look like the best looking fire. However, we're not trying to create a physics simulator in which it's going to take us a week and then break all of our other animation and then not have a complete project. We're trying to make something simple that actually helps to tell the story for our intro class. So how do we do that? I'm going to start this from scratch. So you might have guessed it already. I used a sphere. And I ended up changing the level of detail on it so it's a little bit easier for me to control. So I'll go maybe down to 10. Now that I have that, I'm going to press the B key. And you guys have all been there when you had that B key selected and it makes that really weird looking color show up. It's actually very helpful for what I'm about to do right now. So the B key is your soft selection. And if I select across this top and then pull up, it's actually selecting more than just that one section I had. It's actually pulling, and you'll notice that as it gets darker, the less influence it has on my geometry. So it's pretty cool that I can do that. I'm going to turn off soft selection and hit the B key again. I'm going to double click here, move this down, scale that up. Now I like this, but it's a little bit, the level of detail, it goes into the standard well segmented section down here into very, very low poly pieces up here. Not so great for if we want to use a deformer for it. So there's a couple different ways to change that. One of those ways is your standard multi-cut. This is the way I would recommend it as a new person. However, I want to show something else that's in here. It's kind of buried and you have to type it, and it's called poly retopo. And so when you type this thing in and you got to put the little fun thing on the end, it was that semicolon, hit enter, and it's going to think about it, and it didn't really do much. The face count, maybe if I do that at 150, so it didn't really want to update this one yet. Sometimes it works really well. As you could say, there's no button for it yet in here. So let me try poly remesh. And all of a sudden, it remeshed it, but it did it with triangles. So what this tool can do sometimes for you is actually break down this object into more simpler pieces. It's a script, I know, don't worry about that. I showed a couple of you using that, and for more complex geometry, it works really well. For me, what I want to make sure is I just have that consistent level of edge loops going down this teardrop shape. So now that I did that, right now we can see it's faceted, right? So there's that faceting that's going on around my edges of my model. What I can do here is just go into my mesh display, soften my edge, and now it looks like this. Now, mesh, let's smooth this up a little bit. So we're going to hit 1. So there we go. Mesh smooth is like this. And then now let's go into deform, nonlinear, sine. Now that I have that, ooh, a little too much. So 0.1 maybe. And we can also give that a rotate. So I'm going to put this in the beginning. I'm going to hit the S key on my sine. Oh, it's because I have two flames here, so it's only going to want to accept one of those. So I'm basically just keying. Let me get rid of that one so we can see that. I'm not attached to that one. I can make another. Okay, so I'm going to rotate that over, and you can see that's a hot mess. So let's do 0.1, much nicer. I'm going to hit the S key now, and then move this over, and let's go negative 0.1. Ooh, and we'll key that. And so now we have this little dance going on, which is great. It's happy to be here. It's dancing. That's good. So this doesn't look like fire yet. It looks like a blob. So let's change that. We're going to go into our hypershade. And I'm going to go into Arnold, and I'm going to go to my shader. I'm going to make a standard surface. So under the hypershade, under Arnold, shader, standard surface. Now that I'm in my standard surface, I'm going to turn this into an incandescent bulb because it glows. Now, your color isn't going to do much for you. Also, my specular, I got a little bit of shine on here. I'm going to change this so we can see it maybe as a sphere. Sort of see that shininess. Make that go away. Fire doesn't really have that. I'm going to go into my emission. There we go. This is what's going to change the color of how this is glowing. And I don't want a color this time. I'm going to press this little box. And right here, ramp. If I press that button, you'll notice it's dark on the bottom and it gets lighter at the top. Watch this. If I select this one over here, fire usually starts off as a blue. And then we'll go orangey. We can adjust where those ramps are too, or get rid of them by pressing the little X on the bottom. And then now we'll go some red. Maybe that's a little too pink. Go over there maybe more. And then add another one. Maybe this will be a yellow. Okay, now's that fun time of just adjusting where these are in the position of this. All right, let's see what this does when I add that to my object. So it's going to be this one right here. I'm going to add that. Ooh, and then now kind of looks like candy corn, so we can adjust that. Another thing that's happening too is my geometry is it's opaque, which is normal. However, I can change some of the stuff that's going on here. My render, I don't want this to be double-sided. I want it to be single-sided. So I want to enter my attribute editor of my shape. So let's say I'm walking around in Maya and I'm somewhere in here and I go attribute. I'm going to go on my P sphere shape and then turn off double-sided. And we can also turn on opposite. And what that's going to do is allow for you to see through this thing. That's a nice little trick, because now, let's say I got myself a little chibi candle here, and very easy way that we can get like a low poly scene done with this this low poly flame. So we can see through it and it's dancing around. Very simple. And the cool part is, because this is an incandescent bulb, it's not just a regular material, so that when I hit this button, it's actually putting out some light for me. So very easy way to get a very cheesy but nice little flame going on there. And again, aesthetic choices, if your design is a simple aesthetic choice for, like, I don't know, like a World of Warcraft style looking level, then this actually works out really well for you. Alright, so that's some fire. We will banish it. And now, let's talk about cats. Specifically cat butts. So, I'm going to pretend this is the back of a cat. And I'm actually going to fix this. Remember, we talked about staging on Monday and how staging can tell the viewer a lot of things, and we can also obfuscate certain data from people seeing that. So what I'm doing is pretending that these 3 spheres are the rear of a cat. Now, I'm not going to actually give it, like, anatomically correct parts. I think that would be weird. But I think that we could kind of get away with, if this thing were on a cat tower. I actually should have done this like someone who's used Maya his whole life should work. So that way I can take these and squish them to round that back off a little bit more. There we go. So now I've got these 2 fake legs, and if it were on a perch, which was I think the original idea for where this was going, and for those of you in YouTube land that are watching this, it wasn't me randomly losing my mind and going from making a fire to a cat butt for no reason. A student has a request on this, although it is the season for losing one's ability to know what reality is anymore. Okay, almost vacation. So, okay, I want this to look more, there we go, nicer. So now it looks like a turkey. Pretend that that's nice, that's artwork. Again, I'm quickly trying to make a cat butt and not. I'm gonna admit, I don't think I have this in my portfolio yet, a cat butt. And there's a lot of demand for it. So, okay, so these will be his like paws. Okay, we're pretending. I guess still this hurts my soul, so I gotta fix this. Just so we know, there's a cat head up there, and we could do. We're gonna put whiskers on it. No, again, I would spend a lot more time on this. I'm starting to worry that my YouTube channel is going to, it's going to get the wrong type of people in there, I think. Okay, so there we go. It's a cat, right? So it's looking out a window. I don't know what cats do. Cats don't really do much. They just kind of exist to scratch my face when I walk by the door and things like that. So, which is fine, I guess. So I'm going to make a tube for this cat butt and approximate where that butt should be, probably around here. And then now, here's where the magic begins, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and create polygon perimeter, or no, curve tools, CV curve tool, and I'm going to draw the best cat tail I can. So it's this thing. And then now, I'm going to take this and extrude along that path. So, let's go into modeling toolkit, extrude, and then increase the divisions on that. Now that we have that, ignore the top part, we'll fix that. We're going to go into the attribute editor of that extrusion. Before we end or click on anything else, I want to taper it. And I don't want to go that way. There we go. So now I have this little bit of a tapering going on to the cat tail. And I'm now going to go and clean up this geometry. So I just want to make sure. I'm going to parent this to that. And then now, let's not parent that to that. Let's take both of these and hit Control G to make it a group. And pretend it's not doing that for now. And mesh display reverse. There we go. We got it back. I'm going to grab the pieces. There we go. It's going to work. All right. So this part, that's a bit knobby. So what we'll do is just go into here and bevel it up. And we will make sure that the segments probably are higher. And if I hit the 3 key, that's, we can fix that, but I'm not going to spend more time right now on that. Now, this cat tail we can do some fun stuff with it. I'm going to actually try to see if my bend tool will work on this. So what I'm going to do is go into my side view, which probably should have been not my side view. So I guess I'll stay in perspective. Okay. I'm going to go into my deform again, and I'm going to go nonlinear bend. And this thing we'll put up and down. And we want to do, just like with Tom Cruise's head, we want to stop it at the neck. So we want to stop it right at the base of the tail. So that's going to be either the high bound or the low bound. So to be able to tell, oh my goodness, let's change it so it's rotating from that perspective. So let's give that a rotate of 180 and a rotate of 90 should give me what I'm looking for. Okay. And then now it's my high bound that I don't want doing this. So I'm going to go into, so I have it upside down. So it's this one right here. Oh, now here's where the magic begins. So you see, it's just this dumb curve, right? We just made a curve and we put a bend modifier on it, and then we're going to hit the S key for our curvature, and then you can almost hear the hairballs just flying out. Oh, snap. Is this an acceptable cat thing for you? Okay, so this is easy cheesy cat butt, and I think I might start a new trend. I don't know. Maybe this is going to be a huge thing. What's cool is you can control how much of that's going on. If you animate the position of that, obviously you go too far, and then that cat's going to be in major pain. So don't do that. But as you can see, it's you know, that's pretty acceptable. And if I spent more time on this, this would have a soul, and it would live in my house, and I'd call him Snowball. So pretty cool. So now I'm going to make some hands for a cat, because that's also been requested. Haven't made those in my life yet either, which I guess, see, that's what's cool. I've been doing this since 1999. I have not made cat hands yet, so every day something different. Maybe I'll 3D print them and try and drive home just by holding the cat hands. That'd be a fun challenge. Achievement unlocked. Cat hand. Okay, so I'm gonna shrink this thing down, and this is that time in your life when you have to actually go online and type in like cat paws, because I don't know what they really look like until I do that. These are the things. Oh, that's a smart way to do it. Put a cat on a flatbed scanner. What? Those are the terms? Those can't be. So all I'm trying to do is get an idea of how these weapons are made, and so I think that this is how that goes. So all I'm going to do is, I see where these kind of can exist. So I'm going to go and reduce my subdivisions on the axis to maybe about a 10, and oh boy, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I can get that to happen. So I'm going to go and select some of these. And there's probably going to be a little bit of an issue when I extrude on this. So what I'll do first is I'm going to extrude individually. So I'll extrude one time, go over here, extrude. So I'm hitting the G key so I don't have to touch that again. And then again. And then one more time. Okay. Now that I have that, now I can extrude these together. Before that, I couldn't do that because if I tried to individually extrude by setting that extrude tool to keep faces together off, I'd have each one of these faces that were going to be individual, and that's not what I wanted. So now that I have this, it's going to look weird for a second, but that's okay. We'll scale that down. I'm going to grab the tops of these because they don't do that, and move that up. And now I'm going to hit the 3 key, and yeah, that's not how real life works, but it is starting to get a semblance of a cat hand. The bottom part of this probably needs some shrinking, so it comes down like that. Now the back part of this, and again, spending more time on this, we can do quite a bit to change these. Right now they're very polygonal, or like cubic looking. So we can go into multi-cut and go across these edges as well. And even just by having these here, when you hit the 3 key, I'm going to go into my edges and scale these up. Yeah, it's going to look weird until we adjust certain pieces, but that's how I would fix the squareness if that's a problem, is put another layer or another edge loop along these. So we have this, and scale up, and now hit the 3 key. It's getting better. He'll never play piano, but it's I think it'll be good. And if he does, call the police. That's not a cat. It's a person. They snuck in your house. They dressed as a cat. They got real small. And now they're playing piano. It's a perfect crime, really. So we can go in and then grab these pieces, and that's going to help kind of flatten that out a little bit too. If my cat had fingers like this, I'd be really worried. Okay, so what I'm going to do is delete the back half of this out. Right now I don't need any of this geometry. So what I'm going to do is go in here, grab these, grab that, grab that, and whoop, delete. Now that I have that deleted, I can go across this edge loop, scale it, and then now let's bring it back a little bit. I'm going to extrude once, pull that in, and then pull out. So it's not a masterpiece. It's a work in progress. If we work with these polygons a little bit more, we can start to, there we go. There's a cat paw. Or it's a really weird baby finger. I don't really know yet. So it's starting to shape up, and with this idea, you can have it so you can put little nails on the tips of the fingers if that's, you know, important. In this, does the animation of the cat hand, is it doing this, or is it kind of just doing that? Okay, it's going to do that. Okay. All right. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate this. Oh, I'm saving it too, I guess. Cool. So I duplicated this. I'm going to show you two different ways to make this happen. One way is the super cheesy way, and the other way is the professional way. So I'm going to extract this piece of geometry right here. Now, if you were doing this, I wouldn't make the arm, I would make it separate. But we're where we're at right now, so I'm going to extract that to break it off. So edit mesh, extract, makes these two pieces. This piece, I'm going to fill hole. So fill hole, and this one I'll just do that again, and then now I'm going to tuck this. So I'm going to make sure my pivot point is back here, and then I'm going to move that in, and then now my pivot point for this one would be over here, and then the cat paw is connected to the cat arm. So we're just going to select this and that and hit P, and now it can do things like that, but you can see that separation. So what we can do, if I hit the 3 key and the 3 key, yeah, you can see a little bit. So let's just move this back more. Now when this moves, it's getting a little bit better. So by jamming that in closer, there we go. And so you can kind of get that, let's actually move that pivot point up higher, so that way when it does it, it's not giving you that really weird separation. So cheesy way of a very non-professional rig right here, which looks like really weird baby hands. But I'm going to move that over here, and we're going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to keep it as one piece, and I'm going to go into my rigging. So again, I'm throwing like some crazy shurikens at you guys in the sense of like, these are, right now we're playing with bamboo swords in intro. I'm like whipping something at you that I don't expect you to catch, but watch out because it's sharp. So this thing right here is, these are joints, and just like in real life, it's probably a good idea if you're in intro to stay away from them. So if I go on my top view and I start to use this joint tool, I've got it on. So I went to skeleton, create joints. If I click, click, and click, you'll see these things. Now watch this. If I have that bone and I have this selected and I go to skin, bind skin, all of a sudden, meow, meow, right? But do you see the nightmare fuel? Yeah. So we could fix that. I don't know why you'd want to, but we can fix that by going into skin, paint skin weights, and all of a sudden now you've got this thing that's black and white where you're defining where these weights start and stop. Again, this is super advanced. You guys absolutely don't be like, he showed me something that broke my mind today. It's not important that you guys have to do this. However, if you're looking at taking something to the next level, this is how you would do certain things like that. Some of you have wondered already, like, when are we going to talk about rigging? Well, that's an advanced thing, but for cat hands, that who doesn't love cat hands, right? So maybe those who've been scratched too many times by cats. So what I'm doing is painting out certain influences of my joint. So I have my value on is 1 and off is 0, and so by doing this I'm just defining where these joints are and how that influences. And now let's just compare. So I've got piano cat here, and I've got one hand, the left hand, and I got the right hand. So I'll take the left hand and I'll start playing some music. And then this one will do the same thing. So this will go, we'll bring it closer, and we'll rotate it. Oop. So it's over there. And then, yeah, whatever. And there. Gotta make sure they lift up, so we'll make it lifting up, and then lifting up, and then we'll do that one up and up. Okay, and now we'll give him some little wrist actions. So and on that one we'll do the same thing. And now, I literally just played music with cat hands. So, it's, you know, this looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because those separations in it, because I do have multiple pieces. If you ever played Final Fantasy VII, these are the chunky dudes that you have because they didn't know how to use proper bone weighting yet then. It was too expensive for the engine to be able to use. And then when Squall rolled around, and in Final Fantasy VIII, they finally could do that, but in very simple form. So, yeah. So there's some happy hands. I will see those in my nightmares tonight. So let's hide them. Okay, so we talked about that. The next thing. And again, these will be uploaded so you guys can use certain segments if you want. They do exist. Now, ... you're the cat. That cat doesn't want to be there. Like, it's like, just use your hand, buddy. And it's like, no, I like using plastic. It's like, oh, that's so sad. Yeah, like, this is what my owner does, like, every time. All right, now, that'd be a fun challenge to use these while trying to use Maya. You'd have to stand 6 inches back from where your hands would normally be. Maybe we'll do that next. All right, so we talked about cat butts, we talked about cat hands, balloons. All right, balloons are probably a little bit more practical for a lot more people, I think. So how to make a balloon? Well, I kind of just did. Well, let's make it a little more fancy. So we're gonna we'll put the umbilical cord thing on the bottom. I think that's what it's called. Also, you notice you can change the size of your soft selection tool. If you press the B key and you're in face selection mode or anything like that, that's what turns on, is the ISR on, right? So you get this thing right here. That drop off is how we determine how much you're influencing. If you want more, hold down B and left drag to the right, left the other way. So now that I have this, I'm gonna just pull this down in a balloon. Okay, so let's put the umbilical cord on it. I think that's the scientific term. It sounds better than nub. And it's weird. Most balloons, they're never, they're all outies. There's never any innies, right? Okay, so we got this thing. It looks sort of like a balloon. This is a pretty cool technique. It's a little bit advanced, but it's not really that hard to do once you see what I'm about to do. Don't freak out, because I'm going to show you guys, again, something scary. Okay, I'm going to go into my effects, and I'm going to go into my Ncloth and turn on a passive collider from my ground. Now with this thing, I'm going to go into my Ncloth and make that into Ncloth. So now if I hit the play button, right? So that's cool. I made a deflated balloon. And you'll notice it keeps playing. Okay. So if that looks gross to you, which it should, I'm going to click on my Ncloth and go to the attributes of the Ncloth. And actually, let's go to collisions. So under Ncloth, Ncloth shape, my thickness is set to 0.027. Let's go to 0.104 and see how that deforms when it hits the ground. It takes longer to calculate. It needs more frames. So let's stop that. And I'm going to go to 800 frames now, and I'm going to let this entire thing play through one more time. So I'm going to hit play. And what this is doing is calculating how this would, in real time, be kind of a balloon. So it's deflating. Does it look like a balloon? Not really. Let's reduce that thickness, because I think I went a little too crazy on that, and it should be a lot faster when it simulates this time. Yes. So this thickness is determining. You'll see how much that stood up versus the last time, and now this is kind of falling down again and settling. That looks like a bowl that melted. So what we're playing with is that thickness to get it. So 0.027 was where we were at, maybe just 0.044. We should have it so it's flattening out really well, but not flattening on top of each other. So I'm going to say that that's okay. And now I have this one, and I have when it hits the ground. So I'm going to duplicate that one, so Control D. I'm going to move that over, and it's not going to move because it's just a mesh now. This one still has a simulator on it. So if I hit play, now I'm going to hit stop and duplicate this one. So Control D. Now I've got two of these, And I don't even need this. This is my Ncloth. It's going to be in my system. I don't need it, so delete. I have a deflated balloon and full balloon, which is actually going to just be balloon. So we'll use this one. What I'm going to do now is inside of modeling, I'm going to go into deform again. So that's where I was in my nonlinear bends and all that stuff. I'm going to make a blend shape. So to make a blend shape, what we have to do is have the deflated balloon first, and then the main object. So blend shapes transition objects from one shape or morph to another. And it's really awesome how we can do that. So what I'll do with this is I'm going to take this thing, and I want that to have a control built into this to go from that shape to that. You'll see what I do in a second here. So I'm going to hit apply. And then now, if I have this, you'll see here's a blend shape. And now, let's turn on one. Oh, cool. So this, I'm going to hide. You always need to make sure you have these hidden. We'll call that deflated. And save that. And then now, oh, it's because I already have that layer. Save. Now I have a balloon that is deflated. So I'm going to start at frame 1 and hit the S key. So I'll save that too. So key that selection. So it's deflated. It's at 1. From here, let's make sure we're at like maybe just 180. Let's go up to frame 30. And then let's change the deflated to 0. Let's key that. So now, I know, it's not like, yeah, it's not like a balloon laying on its side doing this. We can reposition that too to do that. But now, if we were to do this, it starts off like this. It's inflating. And when it inflates, let's make that so as it inflates, maybe it starts at around frame 20. I'll hit the S key again. And then I'll go up to frame 60, and I'm going to make that thing go up in the air. And then now, let's make that balloon go on a ride. So we'll hit the play. Whoop. That's pretty cool. And the way that worked was blend shapes. So the way that you need to realize that blend shapes are being worked on is you always work with whatever geometry you want to deform things at. Now, you don't need to go super complex for when you're using a blend shape. You can take like this object, and I can go down to maybe like 10 for that. So I'll have that, and I'll duplicate this one, and I'm just going to take these top pieces and then move them down. So this is how we make characters move their mouths in games and in movies and all that, is you will have blend shapes, and when you make a blend shape, now this one has that node in there that if we hit 1, all of a sudden it'll take onto that shape. So that's how you'll morph different blend shapes on and off to get different simulations of expressions and things like that going on. So just thought these would be little cool things. If you want to change your Rube Goldbergs to add certain things in there, that's awesome. Talk to me if you're freaking out about it. So that is cat butts. That's fire. That's cat hands. That's a balloon. We'll have cans hitting a falling down next. I'm also going to show a catapult with that one.